Hello and welcome to Table for One, a show where we explore simple recipes made without any fancy tools. Today I'm going to show you how to make exactly one jar of tomato sauce, two ways, with a food processor and without. Let's begin with the food processor version. For this we're going to need 400 gram of whole peeled or crushed tomatoes, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, 1 medium-ish onion. I prefer to use red for this recipe, but white also works. 4 cloves of garlic, chili flakes, whatever herbs you have in your pantry. I recommend oregano and basil. If you don't have any herbs, this recipe will still work, but won't be as good as it could be. To start, peel and dice your onion. You don't need to go too fine here, since the end result will be going into the food processor anyway. Next, peel and mince your garlic. A good trick to peeling garlic is to smash it lightly with the flat side of your knife. It should peel quite easily after that. Again, no need to go super fine here. In a small saucepan, add 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil, or just enough to coat the bottom. Add your onions, chili flakes, and a pinch of salt, and cook for a couple of minutes until softened and beginning to turn translucent around the edges. At this point, add your minced garlic and cook until fragrant. Next, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. Fry the tomato paste until it becomes nicely toasted and darkens slightly. Hang on, let me readjust the camera a bit so you guys can see better. There we go. After a few minutes, the tomato paste should look something like this. Now add your canned tomatoes and then fill the can itself with less than halfway with water and pour that into your saucepan as well. This is going to accomplish two things. Add the additional liquid we need, and by using the can itself to do it, we pick up all the bits of tomato that were left in the can. With your spatula or a wooden spoon, smash the tomatoes as best you can to help them break down more easily, and add 1 teaspoon of sugar. This is going to curb the acidity of the tomatoes a bit, giving a less harsh flavor. Bring the whole thing to a boil and then set it on the back burner with as low of a flame as you can get. At this point we can start adding our herbs. As I mentioned, I like to use oregano and basil. Mine is purple, but green is fine too. And 1 bay leaf. The bay leaves I have are tiny and in pieces for some reason, so I'm going to use 4. But you can just use 1 normal sized one. Remember to always count your bay leaves before throwing them in. Now partially cover the pot and let simmer for at least 45 minutes, stirring occasionally to prevent scorching. After 45 minutes it should become nice and thick, however if it still looks too liquid to you, remove the lid and simmer for additional 10 minutes. At this point our sauce is ready, and all that's left to do is pour it into the jar of our food processor, add some salt, freshly ground black pepper, don't forget to fish out your bay leaf, and pulse it 10 to 15 times with 1-second pulses until it's nice and smooth. The reason we're using pulses instead of just turning on the food processor and letting it rip is that if you do that, it's going to whip a lot of air into your sauce and turn it bright orange. Adjust the salt level to your taste. Remember, when it comes to salt, you can always go forward, you can never go back. And there we go. A nice, delicious homemade tomato sauce, which only took 1 hour to make. 45 minutes of which it was just us standing around. Now, what if you don't have a food processor? Are you just doomed to have chunky tomato sauce on your pizza for the rest of your life? Okay, calm down. For the no food processor version, it's the exact same recipe, except for 3 small changes. Instead of whole peeled or crushed tomatoes, we're going to use passata, or strained tomatoes. Instead of dicing our onions, we're going to grate it on the small holes of a box grater. I really recommend wearing goggles for this part, or just wrap your head in plastic wrap like I did. Lastly, instead of mincing our garlic, we're going to turn it into paste. Ideally, you should use a garlic press, but if you don't have one, here's a nice trick to doing it. Start by mincing your garlic as fine as possible. Next, add a big pinch of salt to it. The salt is going to act as an abrasive. Place the flat side of your knife against the garlic and press it as hard as you can, smearing it across your cutting board. Scoop it back up and run your knife through it to break it down even further. Repeat this press, scoop, and mince process a few times until you end up with an almost smooth paste like this. After this, it's the exact same process as before. Be careful when adding the grated onions to hot oil, it's going to spatter like crazy. Add chili flakes, cook for a few minutes, add garlic, tomato paste, Passata already has a lot of liquid in it, so if you're making this version, just add half a cup of water instead of the half a can that we used in the food processor version. Bring to a boil, add herbs, simmer for 45 minutes, and voila! A perfectly serviceable, delicious tomato sauce made from scratch with no fancy equipment. If you like this recipe, please consider subscribing, leave a like, and comment which dish you would like to see a simple single serving recipe of. Bye.